What's up, guys? I'm Zach Joachim. This is On the Horn, coming to you from the Siegel Center. After VCU lost 79-76 to Dayton tonight in the Rams' final regular season game of the season, they are robbed of a chance to win an outright A-10 title here on senior night. It was an emotional, difficult press conference after a loss like that. I love college basketball. I want to start by saying that was so much fun down the stretch of this game. After Dayton led for all of the first half, VCU chipped away. It was only down one at halftime at 28-27. And then we had 12 lead changes and 4 ties in the second half. It was just, from a neutral perspective, an outstanding college basketball game. A lot of fun. A huge credit to Dayton, who came in here and played some really tough physical ball tonight. Javon Bennett, 22 points to lead them, 5 of 10 from 3. And at the end of the day, the three-point shooting, I think, is the disparity in this game, right? VCU just couldn't get going from outside. Rams 5 of 30 from 3. That's 16.7%. Flyers 9 of 23. That's 39.1%. That's good. They didn't light it up from outside, but specifically Bennett made 5 threes, and there was one. Am I pointing to the right side? I always struggle with the orientation, but there was one 4-point play late here that put Dayton up. It was a deep Javon Bennett 3. And he was fouled by Max Scholga. Let's go through the end sequence here because it was wild. That put Dayton up, what was it? Where's the 4-point play? 70-62 with 2:11 to play here, right? And I started writing my story because I was on deadline. That was tough tonight, by the way, to get in my deadline story because this game didn't end until 9:20 something, and I didn't know which way it was going to go with the wild ending, right? And so I was struggling to try and write my story for print tomorrow. And get that turned in. I think I didn't send it in until 9:35, so Vince Shaw, our copy editor, doesn't watch these, but I apologize, Vince, because that was tough. And I started writing saying that the Bennett 4-point play was the dagger in this game, right? Because it felt like Dayton had really taken control down the stretch there. They're up 8 with 2:11 to play, and it's 72-66 after a Joe Bamisile finish off glass with 1 minute to go. And then we had one of the more wild endings that I can remember in this arena. Bennett hits a couple at the line to make it 74-66, right? And then 53.4 seconds left. Timeout VCU. Joe Bamisile catch and shoot 3 on the left wing. Maybe VCU's not dead yet. That was assisted by Zach Joachim, made it 74-69 with 46.4 to play. Then a Zed Key slam on a press break, 76-69. Bamisile board and bucket, 76-71. Cheeks is fouled. He hits the first and misses the second for 77-71 with 23.5 seconds left. And that's when things really got wild because Dayton had a couple of bad turnovers in the backcourt on inbounds plays, and VCU was able to get a couple steals. So Bamisile, after Cheeks missed the second free throw, Bamisile drives, splits the lane, two-handed slam, 77-73. And then VCU gets a steal on the ensuing inbounds to Jack Clark's steal, and he feeds Scholga on the left wing, and Scholga hits what looked like a deep 3 right on that left wing over there. I think everyone in this arena thought it was a 3, and that would have made the score 77-76 with 15.5 seconds left. It was ruled a 2. That was the correct call. We looked at the replay here at the scores table. It was centimeters. His foot was just barely toeing the line. And so at 77-75, after that's ruled a 2, VCU traps Malachi Smith in the backcourt. Anthony Grant calls a timeout with 12.7 seconds on the clock. And then VCU gets another steal on an inbounds play. And Joe Bamisile goes to the free throw line with 6.8 seconds on the clock and a chance to tie the game up, and he misses the first. And he makes the second. And that was tough in the post-game presser because Joe and Zeb were the 2 guys talking to everyone. And I had to ask Joe about the free throw line, right? I mean, that's with 6.8 seconds on the clock, you got a chance to tie the game. As a reporter, I think I have an obligation to ask him about that, and we have an obligation to ask him about that as the press. And I tried to ask it in the nicest way I could, and I said, Joe, to the best of your abilities, man, walk us through what's going through your head at the line there. And if you want to see how Joe responded, you can look at the video. I'll get it uploaded to the RTD website shortly, and it's on Twitter. But Joe did not take kindly to that. He called it a stupid question, which it's not. I have to ask that question in that moment, and I tried to ask it as nice as I could. Obviously, Joe is upset about missing the free throw there. I love that guy, one of my favorite human beings I've ever covered, and he was frustrated. Zeb was frustrated after losing on their senior night here, on a night that they were honoring those 2 guys, and Max Scholga, Philip Russell, and Jack Clark, in a pregame ceremony. But it's 77-76, and it's really not over yet, right? 6.8 on the clock. Timeout Odom. Luke Bamboye fouls Malachi Smith with 5.2 on the clock. And credit to Malachi Smith because he hits 2 clutch free throws to make it 79-76. And then VCU has one last gasp with 5.2 on the clock. They get it to Shulga at the top of the key. Bodies around him. There's a little bit of contact. I don't think it's a foul, especially not in that moment. You can't expect a whistle there. And it clanks off the rim. And VCU loses, and this place went into a stunned silence after that ending. Rams could have gone undefeated at home in a season for just the 3rd time in program history. This is their first loss at the Siegel Center. It's been a fortress this year. The line was 9.5. VCU going into this game, so I think Vegas expected them to continue playing the way they have, but Philip Russell missed this game with the sprained left ankle that he suffered at Duquesne earlier in the week. Rams certainly missed him tonight. His mentality would have been really helpful, especially when VCU fell into a hole there early and trying to turn this game around. But VCU fought back after I think Dayton led 16-5. Yeah, that was their largest lead, 16-5 with 11:45 to play in the first half. And VCU chipped away, and I thought it was the glass was really the way that they did it because they never got going from outside, but they ended up with a 41-32 rebounding edge. 19 offensive rebounds led to 16 second chance points, had some really long possessions there that enabled them to kind of grind away and get back into this game. Bama finished with 18 points, 8 rebounds. Max Shulga, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. I think he's certainly still the A10 player of the year. VCU still the top seed going into the tournament next year. And it was an awesome atmosphere in here in support of Shulga. We had thousands of Ukrainian flags in the stands today, which was awesome to see this fan base supporting Max Shulga in that way. Most of them were the smaller flags that you wave on the little pole, but there were a few big full-size Ukrainian flags that people brought. And so I thought that was pretty awesome. Jack Clark, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 1 of 3 from 3, 5 of 8 from the field. Jack played a really good game. And Zeb, 16 points, 2 of 10 from 3. He had a couple heat checks. I think that, were probably inadvisable threes that he would tell you that they weren't the best shots there. Odom said in the post-game presser he didn't think the shot selection was really bad. They had some good looks that did not go in. Max had about 3 go in and out. He ended up 1 of 9 from 3. 3 of 13 from the field. He was 9 of 10 at the free throw line, and that's how he got all of his points tonight. VCU, only 7 turnovers. Dayton, 8 turnovers. I mean, that's not what doomed the Rams tonight. It was just the Flyers' outside shooting, really, and specifically from Bennett. And Amel Latang, their freshman big, who's quite the prospect, right, to be able to shoot it from outside at his size. I can see why he's, as a freshman, getting very early NBA attention. Because he can really stretch the floor, and he gave Luke Bamboye and Christian Furman trouble with his ability to operate on the perimeter and how they had to close out to him, and I thought that was huge in this game because when he was on the floor, Bamboye and Furman were pulled out to the perimeter, and VCU didn't have their elite shot blockers under the rim to contest shots, and that really helped Dayton operate offensively, I think in a similar way that Jack Clark can do that for VCU a lot of the time with being able to pull opposing bigs away from the basket and stretch the floor a little bit and give everyone else space to drive. Latang did that for Dayton tonight. Nate Santos, 11 points, 6 rebounds. That dude's a dog. He's a gamer. I really respect him. I know that he's an easy guy to dislike because he kind of has some Philip Russell in him in the way that he can get under your skin. It's one of those guys that you love to have on your team and hate to play against, but I got a lot of respect for Nate Santos' game. He's a tough guy. Latang ended up with 10. Enoch Cheeks, 12 points. Malachi Smith, 13 points. Smith, 6 of 6 at the line, hit some clutch free throws, 7 assists. His court vision is outstanding. And I thought that really the biggest difference between this and the first game, between VCU and Dayton, when VCU won 73-68 at UD Arena, Malachi Smith was not 100% from that game. He was sick earlier in the week and missed their, I forget who they played that week, but it was like a Tuesday game that Smith missed. And then he played against VCU, but he didn't seem himself to me. And Philip Russell had 10 points in that game, right? And tonight, VCU has no Philip Russell. Smith is healthy. He plays really well, 13.7 assists. His floor vision is outstanding. Game high 9 over. No, Santos was a game high 10 over on the plus minus, but Smith 9 over on the plus minus, so he had a great impact tonight. And then Enoch Cheeks ended up with 12 points. I really thought that VCU should have gone at him more offensively in that second half and forced Cheeks to defend a little more because he had 3 fouls early in that second half. And Anthony Grant stuck with him, and he only ended up with, what did he end up with? I think the 3 fouls, he ended up with 4, but was able to stay in this game through the whole way. He's obviously a huge piece for them, and I think maybe VCU could have gone at him a little more and forced him to defend when Dayton decided to keep him in with those 3 fouls. So wild game tonight, outstanding atmosphere. This place was sold out a week or so ago. Obviously VCU fans will be disappointed in this ending, but Rams have still accomplished a lot this year. They're 25-6, 15-3 A10. They could still win an outright A10 title if a certain team from across town, Richmond, can help them out tomorrow and beat George Mason at Robins Center. How wild would that be if the Spiders can help the Rams out and beat the Patriots? Although that doesn't really matter that much. I don't think VCU fans care that much in the difference between an outright A10 regular season title at this point and sharing it with George Mason. It's about the NCAA tournament, and this loss puts VCU in a precarious spot. Right? They have to win Friday in the quarterfinals of the A10 tournament to still get in that large to the NCAA tournament, I think. And if you win Friday in your quarterfinal game and then you get to Saturday, they should be on the right side of the bubble, but if you lose in the semifinals, then you're really sweating on Selection Sunday. I think they're right smack dab on the bubble if that's the case. If they get to Sunday and play for an A10 championship, I think they're an at-large team even if you were to lose in the A10 final. But they really had a chance tonight, I think, to seal up the at-large bid, and they weren't able to do it. And so all of a sudden now the A10 tournament matters a great deal. It mattered a great deal anyway, but VCU, again, with a win tonight, I think could have made themselves safe in terms of the at-large conversation. They are not safe now. They have to win Friday, probably need to win Saturday, or else you're really sweating on Selection Sunday. And then if you can get to an A10 championship on Sunday, you're obviously not thinking about it being an at-large discussion. You want to win the conference tournament and get the auto bid, and I think they could still be, a 10 seed if they can win the A10 tournament with 3 games in DC. But most projections that I've seen over the last few weeks had them between a 9 and a 12, as high as a 9, as low as a 12. The consensus was 11. They're certainly in a precarious spot after this result tonight. So this is On the Horn. I'm Zach Joachim. Thank you all so much for following the coverage all year. I've already got the quick gamer up, and I'll get takeaways online in the morning as we look ahead to the A10 tournament next week. Dayton 79, VCU 76. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week in DC.